a whisper from God, a vision placed inside of you. And through the struggle, and through the sacrifices, and through the faith and the fire, you refuse to stay small. This is for the ones who rose anyway, for the ones who turned closed doors into open highways, for the ones who never were given a seat at the table, so they built their own. This is for the entrepreneurs who see beyond the now, for the creators who transform the unseen into reality, for the leaders and the innovators, the risk takers that won't wait for permission to go higher. Here, we celebrate aspiration. Here, we honor the grind. Here, we elevate the vision. Because the road to success was never meant to be easy, but neither were we. We are the sons and daughters of resilience, the descendants of royalty, the builders of legacy, the ones that will outlive our name. This is not just a podcast. This is Level Up. I'm your host, Earl McCray, and in every episode, we bring you real game from real voices, from those who have paved the way to those who are building the way, and to those who will take it further than even imagined. Because it is not about just getting to the top. It's about bringing others with you. It's about breaking chains. It's about shattering limits. It's about walking in divine purpose and power. So, if you're ready to step into something greater, if you're ready to go beyond potential and into impact, if you're ready to stop waiting and start moving, then welcome home. This is where faith meets action. This is where dreams meet discipline. This is where we level up. All right, Level Up, episode 67
Hey,
from
I like that
Soldier.
monologue. That monologue got me motivated. Let's go.
All right, man. I'm happy, man. From soldier to CEO. How Ronaldo Emmanuel is building legacy through real estate, business, and bold investments. All right, let me turn my camera on so I can see you, so I can see my people out here in social media world. Let me see you. All right, hold on. I ain't got my camera on. Hold on. Let's just get the camera going. All right, we in it.
There we go.
Man. All right, how's the weather?
How's it going, Earl? How you doing?
I'm awesome, man. I'm fantastic, man.
Oh, it's nice sunny now.
Oh wow, man. We're finally getting some in our area. We're finally getting some decent weather.
We had a couple storms come through last night.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, the what they say, the showers. It's good for the flowers. So listen, man, I want to take a minute. I'm gonna introduce you to my audience. But beforehand, I just want to give you the demographics of the folks who are listening in. So we got really two distinct demographics or avatars. My first avatar are people who a little bit like me, are on, been in the W-2, don't work a position, multi-decades. Their kids are growing up. In some cases, the kids are out of the house and they're recognizing that 9 to 5, that W-2 ain't gonna cut it. And so they're charted a course in the world of entrepreneurship, building a business, putting your money where your mouth is. And whether that business is, I do short-term rentals. Some people, others might be doing something of service-driven industries. But the bottom line, they recognize they're just working for somebody else is not going to cut it. I love those people. I am those people.
Right.
My second demographic, all right, and this speaks to my background as an educator, as a teacher, as a math teacher specifically. That second demographic is that 18 to 33-year-old, 18 to 33. And what they're saying is, man, why go into debt? Why get the college degree? Why not get a skill? Why not get a mentor? Why do what granddaddy and daddy did? Let me work smart and not work hard. Now, I get excited about that demographic.
Yes. Me too.
Because they can do it the correct way.
Right.
Because we've had all kind of movements, man. People of color. I'm just gonna give it to you straight. This is not a political conversation. This is not about who's in the White House, but this is about Black and brown people. And that being
Right.
said, we've all had all kinds of movement. We had civil rights movement. We had movements to get us in the courts, movements to get our votes. But we got to have an economic movement, people.
Right. Right.
We got to go back to the days where we had the doctor doing business with the mason. The mason was doing business with the attorney. It's about group economics, my friends. So,
That's true.
with
I
that
agree.
said,
I agree with you totally. That's a good group to have because like you, I started the W-2 field and everything, and moved on. And once I got a mentor, D, Jerome, all of them from Band of Brothers and everything, they put me on game. So once I got on game, it wasn't no stop. So then what I did was the same thing it did to me. It's funny because my son and daughter is in that age range that you're talking about. So my daughter, she just turned 21. I
okay.
just been showing her how to do finance, manage her. She just finished. She's getting ready to graduate college here, and then my son is 31, and he's in the Air Force right now. So, and I'm trying to
Mm,
help them how to manage their finances and their how to build wealth and stuff like that. And then my son I got three
crazy.
grandkids, so they got three grandkids. So I'm trying to show them how to protect their wealth, make wealth, and then once you get to a certain point in life, you ain't got to work that W-2, but you want to work that W-2 until you're able to get whatever it is that you're going to be able to manage the funds that you got coming in. But yeah, I agree with you. They tell me all the time, well, Dad, you can do it this way. Why are you doing it that way? I'm like, hey, I was taught the hard way, the hands way.
Right, right,
We
right.
can learn from each other. That's how it goes. Learn
Crazy
from each
overlap.
other.
Crazy
Yeah.
overlap. Well,
Yeah.
Ren, I'm gonna take 30 seconds.
Okay.
Give me 60 seconds because I got a lot to say about you. I want to now that I've told you about my audience, I want my audience to know about you. All right, so
Okay.
here we go. So people of purpose, I need you to lean in right now because you're about to witness not just success, it's a testimony of transformation, of tenacity, and a strategy. Today, our guest is living a blueprint for what happens when discipline meets destiny. An entrepreneurship anointing, a man of order, of execution, and expansion. He's not just building business, y'all, he's building a legacy. 25 years of faithful service in the United States Army. Salute. Retired in 2017, stepped straight into the battlefield of entrepreneurship. Now the owner of not one, not two, but three successful businesses from Emmanuelate. I hope I'm saying it right.
Emulate. Emulate.
Emmanuelate
Emulate.
LLC, Emulate, excuse me.
Yep.
Where pavement meets precision, to R&L Equities, where real estate moves from vision to volume, to Lux Experience, where the Toro and the car sharing game gets a luxury upgrade. He's not just stopping there, no, sir. He's invested in syndicated real estate deals, precious metals, wholesale opportunities, rental portfolio stocks, and he's doing it all with quiet power and unwavering purpose. Born and raised, y'all, in Cleveland, Ohio, he was
Whoop,
brought
whoop.
up with grit in his spirit. But it's the grace, the grind, and the growth that sets him apart, y'all. He's a brother not chasing the trends, he's building the empire. He's not just breaking cycles, he's he's birthing blueprints. He's not just investing in money, y'all. He's investing in meaning, in mission, and momentum into everything he tucks. So y'all get ready to buckle up on this level of on this episode of Level Up. Get ready to take notes, get ready to lean in, and get ready to be inspired. My brother, Ronaldo Renn Manuel, brother. Thank you for being with me, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. I ain't never done
Yeah,
this before, so this is gonna be the first one. It's good. This is good right here. Never done a
yeah, man.
podcast, so here he
All
is.
right,
I like
man.
to sit in the back. I'm a sit in the
All
back
right.
guy. Let things work.
Well, listen, man. My audience loves a good origin story, man. So if you could just share a little bit of how you got going, what inspirations were a part of your beginning phases, and what forks in the road did you navigate?
Okay, so like I said, like you already mentioned, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. I wouldn't say poverty. I was okay. My father has, some, he owned a couple of hardware stores, but they all basically got bought out because of the big box stores, Walmart, Home Depot, and all that kind of stuff. But he had the business, but he didn't really kind of teach me. Like I worked in the business, but he didn't kind of teach me like how to actually run a business, where the money, stuff like that. So like like most of us, we get into a point where we start going the wrong route, start doing the bad stuff. So I got into that same things, doing the bad stuff, doing the wrong things. Um, I actually ended up in jail, and then once I got out, I was like, okay, I got to do something better with my life. So that's when I joined the military. Stayed in the military about 25 years. Like I said, I just retired. I was a military police, which is crazy. They say most police are good criminals, but I was military police. So I retired in 2017. Then I started actually once I retired. My daughter was here. We're in Kentucky right now, so I retired in Kentucky out of Fort Knox. My daughter was in high school, so she was in. So when I was retiring, I was retired in September of 2017. So my daughter was like starting school, so I didn't want to leave here and pull her out of her high school. So we stayed here, and then I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? You coming out the military, a lot of people that retire or either get out, you kind of like in that zone, like, okay, when this military check stop or whatever, what am I going to do after that point? So then I said, well, let me go find me another job. So I actually started working for the Social Security Administration. Then I started working for the Social Security Administration I worked there for about 7 years. But while the time I was working there, Jerome, him and Duran, I started talking to them, started linking up with them, and then Jerome, he invited me to the Hawaii Million Mindset Conference. So I was like, okay. So I went there, and I said the one
Don't
thing.
share too much because I want you to highlight that at the end
Oh, okay.
for
We
my
can go back to
people.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to that conference, and if I had never been to like a conference like that, like I heard about them or whatever, and in my mind has always been like, oh, um, you know what? Let me go back because I didn't. So what happened was I was talking to Jerome. Me and Jerome served together. We served together in the same unit, and we both went down range together. And we like stayed in the same area. So me and him became pretty close or whatever. But he had already been working with Duran and all them during this time frame. So he finally, me and him finally touched base on everything. He was like, hey, I got this syndication deal or whatever. Did you want to invest in that or whatever? And he was just telling me about he was going through everything. So then he introduced me to Duran, and Duran just kind of broke down everything as far as the deal. So I was like, you know what? I read a lot of books and stuff, and everybody that's either successful always says you got to take the parachute. You got to take a chance. You got to take a risk. At some point in time, you're gonna learn two things from risk. Either it's gonna go good for you, or you learn the lesson. You know what I'm saying? And once you learn that lesson, learning the lesson is actually the best part because you can always grow. You can always make yourself better. Okay, I made this mistake last time. Let me not make this mistake again. So I said, you know what? I'm about to take some money. I'm going to invest into the syndication deal. So I invested into the apartments that they were buying, and I said, okay. So I started getting these monthly checks. I'm getting monthly checks. You know what I'm saying? And then at the end, I'm like, okay, well, I said, you know what? So that actually did work out. So then that what made me go. I said, so then me and Jerome, we started talking. So he kind of became my mentor, and he was like, hey, why don't you come out to the Hawaiian Millionaires Mindset Conference? It's gonna be more people to give you more information about what you can do and how you can start. So the very first one they had, we went to the very first one that they had, and I'm one of the people, like I say in the beginning, I stay in the background. I didn't need a VIP seat. I just wanted to get in the room to see what everybody was talking about. And that was the biggest thing for me. So I tell everybody all the time, they be like, I want to go. Don't worry about getting VIP. Just get in the room. If you can pay for just standing up, Pay that price, stand up in the room, just get in the room with the people, they're professionals that understand these things that can kind of guide you in a certain way. And so I was like, you know what, they were trustworthy, they were my battle buddies. So that's what I did. Got in the room. Once I did that, after that first one, got all this knowledge how to upscale your business, things of that nature. The first thing I learned was the different books that you can read about either real estate or business, whatever. And I think that was the first time that I actually read the Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then I started. Then once you get into that, you start. They got a little game, the wealth. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head.
Required reading for my mastermind group back here
Yeah.
in Rochester.
So
We do the game once a month, bro.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Oh,
Yeah. So I
yeah,
started playing
absolutely.
the game, and it helped you get out. Try to get out the rat race. But I was kind of figure out. Then I said, I started playing the game, and I would play the game every day, just like I'm playing, like Rich called it. And the funny thing is with me is like they didn't like to play Monopoly. Monopoly was my game as a child. Nobody wanted to play with me because I was like, "How are you doing?" I was like, because I'm trying to figure out what the
You would
strategy.
kill it, huh? I was
I'm trying to
addicted
figure
to
out what the
Monopoly.
strategy is. Like everybody else just going around, we having fun, but in my mind, I'm like, no, nothing describes life like the games you play. So I was like, okay, I'm trying to figure out the strategy. But anyway, so it was kind of like that. So I said, now I'm understanding like how to do this. So then after that, the stint in Hawaii, whatever. Matter of fact, we didn't even stay at the Four Seasons. We stayed off in, I think, Residence Inn or something like that. So it wasn't like I didn't spend a whole bunch of money. I just wanted to be in the room. So immediately after I left that, it took me about 6 months. And that's when I started doing and this was in 2021, I think was the first one, 2021, 22. 2022 was the first Hawaii's Millionaire Mindset Conference. So immediately after that, like I said, I started reading more, getting more books, Rocket Fuel, Traction. So then I started reading more about how to build a business and expand that business, how to scale that business, whatever, through those books. So then I said, you know what? I said I'm gonna buy a franchise. So they had a franchise came up. You get a franchise broker. A franchise came up, and it was a line striping company. I was like, you know what? I could probably I could probably do that. So I went to the franchise, and once I went to the franchise, I started reading. You get to FDD, the franchise documents and all that stuff, and then they give you what you got to pay them. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'll be paying a whole lot of money, and I still got to buy the equipment, and I got to pay you off all these different type of fees. I'm like, wait a minute, I could start this on my own. You know what I mean? And start small on my own and start doing it that way. So that's exactly what we did. I
Wow.
started small. I made sure I had a niche. What niche I want. I just wanted small stores, mom and pops that had parking lots, and they need some lines down, restriping, stuff like that, pavement marking, seal coats and stuff like that. So doing that, so that was doing good. So by the time the next Hawaiian Millionaire Mindset came around, we was doing well as far as that job. I was like, okay. So then once I kept on talking to, Duran and everything, he started, you take your business, what you're making off your business, you invest that into real estate. So by the next time we left the second A Millionaire's Mindset, I said, you know what? I'm about to start buying into the real estate. And what I did was I first started doing the REITs, which is your real estate, where you just buy into a pot, kind of like stocks, and then they pay you dividends or residuals, whatever. So that's like, okay, well, so I started doing that. Those dividends was coming out good. I said, okay. I said, this is making more sense because the money is now the money is actually making money. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm learning, okay, the money that I'm making is actually paying for any liabilities I had. So I said, my next goal is I'm about to get rid of all my liabilities. So that money is just recirculate. So I just take that money from business, invest it in the real estate, use the real estate money to invest in either stocks or precious metals and things of that nature and stuff like that. And to say all that is basically at a point in time, I don't know, maybe a year or two or so, my mindset actually clicked. Like it just happens. Your mindset clicks and you realize that, hey, this is what you need to be doing, and this is how America's actually work how money actually is recycled. This is how the wealthy stay wealthy, and they continue on, and everybody say, well, they're getting rich. And they're not really getting richer. They just understanding how the cycle of money works. So I take that, all that money is for either, if I want to go on a trip, one thing we said was, if we're going to go on a trip or we're going to buy something, like one time we want to do some improvement in our house, and I said, you know what? Before we do any improvements in the house, we got to come up with another stream of income, or we got to buy another something.
I love it.
To pay
I
for
love
that.
it. Yeah.
To pay for whatever that expense is, then we can do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's basically how I work everything right now. If it's something that I want to do, like whatever. I want to have another stream of income, or whatever, a business or housing is going to be paying for it, where it's not coming out of any other stream of income that I want. So I just kind of circulate money like that.
Wow. So there's so much meat you left on the bone. I'm gonna try to break this down for my audience. So many pieces, so many great pieces. This is so good. So first of all, one of the things I want my audience to pick up on is, you said that when you want to purchase something, then in your mind, I'm not going to a credit card. I'm not going to a line of credit. I need to find another stream of income,
Right.
aka another asset. I need to purchase an asset that's going to cash flow to pay for whatever it is that me and my family think we need. So many of us have been conditioned to get that line of credit, or
Right.
reach for that credit card. That's not how a millionaire thinks, y'all. Not how a
Right.
millionaire thinks.
So the wealthy actually think, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the wealthy actually think, so where everybody should know, you got good credit and you got bad credit. You know what I mean? So good credit is, you take it out, you got a home loan or some type of personal loan or something like that. Sometimes some personal loans, like HELOCs or something, might be good credit, as long as you got something that's paying back into it. Like you're taking out a loan to buy a business, and that business paying off that loan, or a house. That business is worth paying off that house or whatever. Or you got real estate and it's paying off that loan for you, and you're getting some cash flow. Then you got bad loans, like you said, credit cards, store credit cards. That's bad credit. You don't
Mm-hmm.
need bad credit. I
Mm.
know we want to use them. Sometimes they're good, but if you're not doing something to pay that off, or have something set to pay that off, then it's bad credit. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
correct.
yeah. Love it. The next thing I want to bring up to my audience is, you mentioned that you went to the Millionaire Mindset Conference, and before you
Yes.
went back for the second year, you had already taken action. You had
Right.
already executed a play. And
Yeah.
so often people, because of social media, they think it's all about the information. Yes or no? It's less about the information and it's
All
more
about
about
that.
the transformation.
Mm.
You have to take action. And I'm like you, brother. I don't watch a lot of television. I read a lot of books. But
Mm.
even when I read a book, if I'm not taking action on anything I'm reading, I'll put it like this, folks. It's sort of like intellectual masturbation.
Yeah.
It feels good, y'all, but you ain't accomplished nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
That's definitely true. And then, like, I actually cut down on a lot of TV I watch, and that's just being around D. You know how D is. He like, and I actually watch CNBC. I look at the stocks every morning, every
Mhm.
time I come back. Because you know what? One thing you'll learn by looking at that is seeing what the next move is. How what are they doing as far as stocks? What's the next come up, or what's going on, and how to invest, whether that's in real estate. What is the real estate market looking like right now? Do you actually want to buy another piece of real estate, or is it too high, too low, stuff like that? It's just so much information that you can get from just watching that, and understanding what the world is actually doing, and what's going on. You know what I mean? So a lot of people, I'm gonna give you an example. A lot of people, like when the stock market went down, a lot of people were selling a lot of their, what you call it, a lot of people sold out of Nvidia. A lot of people sold out a lot of the tech stuff, like they traded all that stuff in.
Right.
But I kept everything I had. I kept it because I had already bought it low, so I kept it. Now, what is the stock market doing right now? You just it's going back up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So the first sign of danger, people have to understand it. You know, you're gonna have everything is gonna be ups and downs. You're gonna get into some bad spots. You're gonna get into some crazy stuff. You're gonna run into, like you were saying earlier, the smoke. Everybody got these social media. Well, I can help you make money this way, or I could do it that way. All that stuff ain't good. All of that stuff ain't good brand. And one thing I do know about, like I say, the Banner Brothers, and you know this yourself, Earl and Deron and them, they are true to what they to what they doing and how they run business and how they, you know, what he's teaching and what he's giving to us. So, you know,
Facts,
yep.
absolutely fact. So I'm gonna go in another direction because you know, in full transparency, it's easier to be broke and to have a W-2 than to be wealthy and to be, you know, self-sufficient.
Right.
So let's talk about being self-sufficient. Every entrepreneur has what I call a grind season. A grind season is when mentally, physically, spiritually, you got to break through some stuff. Can
Mm-hmm.
you share with my audience, you know, what your grind season looked like? And how did you know you were going to get through?
Uh, I I'm not me personally. I'm not a quitter. If I set my mind on something, like I was saying earlier, I know there's going to be those hiccups. My grind, I'm gonna just emulate the payment thing. So we know that's a seasonal thing. So I know it's hard. Like right now, we're not we're not getting no bids. You know, nobody's taking bids or whatever because it's earlier in the season. So, but I'm still working through that time frame. So during the time frame that's not working, I'm working on marketing. I'm working on trying to figure out what I can do if I need to pivot somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always mentally thinking about that. You know what I mean? It's funny. Like I told my like me and my dad always had this quirky little argument. He'd be like, "You ain't retired." I'd be like, "Yeah, I did retire. I retired from the military." He'd be like, "No, you ain't retired." He said, "You still doing business." So I said, "Okay, you're right. I retired from W-2. I ain't retired." So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So, but yeah, uh, that's just I don't know. I just work on it until either I get it right or, like I said earlier, I make that mistake where I'll be like, "Oh, nope, that was the wrong way. I need to move." But you just got to be disciplined. You got to work at it. You know what I mean? And like the biggest thing is execution. Like you were saying earlier, execution is the biggest key. You'll never know what you're gonna get until you execute. Once you start executing, you'll learn those pitfalls and stuff that might happen in there. But as far as a grind, my terminology, I don't think I'm grinding as hard as I used to. I don't feel like I put myself in a position where I don't really have to, you know, go at it so hard. I know I built my systems, I built my processes, and I use those. If they work, if I have to upgrade them or pivot, then that's what I'll do. Other than that, I try not to overbear myself with a lot of stuff. I mean,
I
I got a pretty
appreciate that.
life.
No, I appreciate the pushback because I had another mentor said, brother, I don't grind, I align. I'm always
Mm,
in alignment. So things come to me, law of
right,
attraction.
right.
You know, I put my intentions out there. I go into my routines and my rituals. And that's where I want to go right now. What is your routines? What are your rituals like that maybe my audience can glean from? They give you that mindset.
What do you mean by routines? Or like daily thing, or you sound off or something?
Good looking.
Are
Some
you good?
people will get up at the crack of midnight or dawn and they'll work out. Or some people might start
Oh,
with a prayer or a reading and something inspirational. What does yours look like?
okay. So I basically, so when I wake up, first thing I do is I go to the gym. I get me a workout in because your health is your wealth. So
We've been
you got
learning that.
it don't make no sense to have money or do certain things and then you ain't here to share it, you know, to
Yes.
live, to enjoy it. So that's the first thing I do. I get up, go to the gym, come back, make sure I get me, you know, some healthy food or something like that. And then, like I say, the first thing I do is I cut the TV on It ain't on regular channel. I'm going to CNBC before they even ring the bell at the stock market. I'm already watching
Okay.
to find out what's going on. So that's running. Then once I might look at that for about an hour. Then I'll go into my office, start looking at the business stuff, see what bids I might have or what bids I need to put that needs to get put out. And then what I do is I kind of separate the business by days. Like on Mondays, I'm working on Emulate. That's the pavement, the painting, the line striping and pavement marking company. On Tuesday, that's when I deal with REL Equities. That's the real estate side of it. And then Turo is really nothing I have to do every day, but it just really depends on if somebody's renting or something like that. And I have somebody else that kind of monitors if somebody's renting and stuff like that. So they'll shoot me something like, hey, somebody needs to rent a car or whatever like that. So it's pretty much, so basically by the time, I would say by the end, my day really ends at about 12 p.m. By noon, I'm typically done with everything that I need to do for the day. After that,
Bless the Lord.
I'm either trying to read and see what the next thing is, or working on something from the DB community, trying to figure out like, hey, let me go through some of this stuff to see what I've been missing or stuff like that. But I say the other half of my day is typically research. Then then after that is just, yeah, I don't feel like I grind. I feel like I said, I got systems and stuff in place that I don't feel like I don't want to work that hard no more. Like I was in the
Yes.
military, so I
Right.
don't never want to work that hard no more. I don't want to do that. But you have to make sure that you have those systems and stuff in place to be able to get to that point. You know what I mean? I think I'm at a point right now that I just want to, I like what I got right now. I get to spend more time with my grandkids. I can go and see them if I want to. If we want to say, hey, you know what, we just gonna leave for the week and take a vacation or whatever, then that's I'm able to do that. I like that freedom of movement and stuff like that. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Here's a question that I often ask my guests, because I think people really want to know. You know, w- for me, I had to create a system where I was getting in the rooms with people who knew a lot more than me. I had to be for many cycles. I was the big fish in a small pond, and now I kind of go out of my way to be uncomfortable because I want to be a little minnow in an ocean where I can see all these sharks swimming, so I can learn a few things.
Mhm.
My question is this: for you, um, uh, what was one business move or strategic decision that changed the game for you?
I would say the real estate. All right, so I had, and I learned this from D and everything. Just learning how to do an actual deal. You know what I'm saying? So, and then we had the VA. So I think and this actually this was probably one of the most recent ones that I was so proud of. I think I posted it on the DB community where we actually didn't come out of pocket for buying this house at all, because the
Wow,
VA did the down payment.
blessings.
So no payment down, and then we was able to work the deal where the sellers play the actual closer.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So now it's, it's stuff like that. But I would say that's, I don't know. I think I learn something every day. Everything is kind of like a new challenge. But I think I'm the same way. I'm like, I've always been a proponent of, if you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never. That's why I say I'm always in the background. I don't need to be. You ain't even got to know I exist there, because you know what? I'm gleaning that knowledge from whatever you saying, and I'm gonna go back, research it, and be like, oh, okay, so this is doable. But I think that was the biggest thing. I would say my biggest thing was like after that first being able to set up to emulate after that first millionaire mindset conference. That was probably big. I was like, wow. I mean, and it was, I would say about a good 6-8 months after we had left the conference, we was up and running. Now we still had some work to do as far as systems and processes, but we had executed something that, like, once that started, it was a snowball. I was like, okay, well, if I can do that, I can do this. If I can do
I
that
love it.
and that, I can do this too.
I love it. I
So
love
I
it. You
mean,
use the word snowball. I
yeah,
refer to it as the momentum. Uncle
hmm,
Mo, you get a little Uncle Mo on your
yeah.
hands, beautiful things happen. Speak to my audience about misconceptions a little bit now. So, what do you think one of the biggest misconceptions that our community, the Black and Brown community, has around entrepreneurship or wealth creation?
I think the very biggest one is everybody thinks you need a lot of money to do certain things.
Mm,
And that goes back to what I said, the art of the deal. And the only way to learn that is you got to have a mentor and you got to start reading. You got to start researching. You got to get into the people that's in your community, because there are so many programs out there that can get you started with maybe even the minimum, even maybe even zero. Or you might have an asset that you're not using that could become. I mean, you might have a liability or whatever, or something that you're using at your house or whatever. For example, I got into Turo because I have a car. I got 2 cars that's paid off, and I'm not going nowhere every day in them or using them every day, and they're just sitting there.
facts.
So why not use them as an asset? So now those
Right.
cars, instead of sitting there not making me anything, they can be used by somebody that's sharing them, and
Mhm.
I'm making money off of them. Because otherwise they'd just be sitting there collecting dust, you know what I mean? Whatever, just collecting dust. So it's not,
Right.
and I'm not losing anything because, like I said, they're already paid off. I ain't got nothing on, you know what I'm saying? They got insurance on them, you know what I'm saying? So somebody's
Mhm.
actually paying me. It'd be like, okay, your uncle or cousin or brother, sister, dad, or mama say, hey, can I use your card? They're not gonna pay you for it.
Right.
They're just gonna
No,
use it.
and that's
Wondering why, hey,
dangerous
so what
too,
you
because
doing?
then that asset, or excuse me, that liability,
It's now
from
an
an
asset.
insurance standpoint,
Yeah,
can be turned into a larger liability if they get
yeah,
themselves in trouble.
right, right.
Yeah, that's good, man. Real good. So we're talking about family. So I think it makes sense to have this conversation on legacy. Um, uh, building wealth that outlives us is a big thing, especially when you have children and grandchildren. So my question is this: what's one principle that you live by that ensures that your success does not end with you?
So one thing I'm working on right now is building an actual trust, getting a trust fund, having it set up where a way where, like, if somebody wants to get money or use something out of that trust fund, that they need to be either established in a business, however you want to write it. So you want to protect that asset. So we're in the works of trying to work on that right now. So kids, another thing is actually sit down. Like I said, my daughter's 21. Actually got her started in the doing a high yield savings, which we call it. And I kind of broke that down to her, kind of showed her, okay, yeah, you can keep your money in a regular savings account, and they're gonna pay you what, 8 cents a month,
Mm-hmm.
or you can stick it in this high yield savings, and you're gonna get what I'm getting, what, 4.24, I think is what she's getting right now, percentage APY.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So you getting, with the money she got, she's making what, $50 a month off on interest coming in. So now you got money, so every time, and you leave that money in there because now you didn't add it to the total. So guess what? Your interest payment is gonna be higher the next month. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
you're making, that money is basically making money for you. Just let it sit in there, because if you have a regular savings account, you're not gonna get anything. I think I looked at one of my savings account the other day, and I was like, "Oh, y'all gave me $8 this month. Appreciate that. Thank you." Like, really?
We'll take it. We'll take it. Yeah.
but yeah, so it's just yeah. So I think that's one thing. It doesn't take a lot to do certain things, uh, and just passing the information on. What you have, you need to pass on, and so I told uh, my son, I was like, hey, I said, you know what I'm doing right now ain't even for you and Destiny. You know, it's for my 3 grandkids. You need to be
Mm,
working on their kids.
yes.
You need to be working on your
One
kids' kids.
one generation removed. One
Right.
generation removed. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, one of the things that the people in my tribe are doing each year, excuse me, each month when we assemble to sit and play the cash flow game, we always have a book of the month. Well,
Mhm.
we've been working on this one book for the last 2 months. The book entitled "Thou Shall Prosper" by Rabbi Daniel Lampin.
Okay,
And
I'm gonna have to check
what
that out.
that last sentence that you just shared about what we're doing in terms, it's not about looking rich, it's about being rich. And you're being
Mhm.
rich for the next generation. So what you're doing today, and really for the kids, is really for the grandkids.
Right. Exactly.
What your
Exactly.
kids should be working on
Is
shouldn't be
they
for
keep,
their
yep, their
kids.
grandkids, right.
Should be for their grandkids. So can
Hmm.
you imagine, man, if generationally we start passing those principles down in our lineage, what our community would look like?
Yep. Yeah. It's we yeah. We like I said, a lot of stuff I'm late to the game. So you can imagine that if we can get them started earlier, wow,
Yeah,
where would we be? You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? But
yeah.
it like I said, it's a matter of um people basically either trusting in the process or understanding and actually going out and getting the actual knowledge. Start talking to people. Don't be afraid to talk to those people. You know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid to get out to your community and find out what do they have out there for me that I can use to benefit from. You know what I mean? Whoever it is, somebody in your
Mm,
church, somebody that you know. There's somebody. Everybody knows somebody that's doing something. You know, either positive or they in a room with somebody else. It's just a matter of you talking to them, and then it's also a matter of they don't want to. That person can't be one to be the gatekeeper. They don't want to be the one. Okay, well, I'll let you through. I'm not gonna let you through. We can't have that. We got to get rid of that.
mhm,
That's one thing that's get done. We got to stop doing that. You know what I'm saying? If if I'm able to get in the room, I'm gonna talk to you and say, hey, I know you was thinking about this. You was talking about doing this or the third. I hear somebody that you can talk to, you know, and I do that nowadays. If I know somebody, I'm gonna tell you a funny story. Don't let me skip this. So, and I said, I know somebody that you know that you might be able to talk to because I might not know everything. Saying I'd rather you talk to someone a bit more than me, you know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? But you have to take the effort and have the discipline to actually talk to them, to actually
that's right.
do it. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And you know what I mean? And then you have to be in the right mindset. That's the biggest key. You got to be in the mindset. You got to be in the right mindset. You got to get to a point where you're actually changing your thought process, to changing
Hmm.
your actual mindset. And that's probably one of the biggest keys for me. I had to learn to actually change my mindset about certain things. You know what I'm saying? If
Hmm.
it's an asset, it's an asset. You can't worry about, like we said, I can't worry about somebody taking the Turo, a Renault, and crashing it because it's an
Right,
asset. I'm gonna get that back. You know what I'm saying?
right,
I can't
correct.
worry about wherever they doing. Like when I first started doing, I was like, oh, you know, I got the GPS on it. I'm looking all the time. Where these people at? I don't,
Me too,
I
brother.
don't
Me
care.
too.
It don't even matter. You know why? Because
Yeah,
there's nothing I can do about any of that. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? So, you know, that's just like if you rent a house or you got an Airbnb or whatever. Somebody might put a hole in your wall. It's not you can
yep,
patch it up. You can't do
yep,
nothing about it. Ain't no
yep,
sense of worrying about it. Either it's gonna happen or it ain't gonna happen. But you gotta
yeah.
change your mindset to understand that hey, you can't control what's what ain't controllable. You know what I'm saying? So just
Right.
you know what I mean? And then getting like I said, the biggest thing is just getting I guess having more people in certain positions able to open up those doors and then people actually wanting to talk to them, and not saying, okay, well, they that person is above my level, so they no, that's not how most of the time those people are some of the they'll give you the information, and a lot of times they
Yeah.
story you'll be inspired by. They still like how you got there. Like I remember I was in Dallas with Duran and them, and we were going over some stuff, and I was sitting down with one guy. He came in. I didn't know he was like a multi whatever, but he was sitting down eating lunch or whatever. And then he started telling me, he started talking about his background, how he was on drugs, he had blah blah blah. But now, you know what I'm saying, he don't drink no more, he don't do this, he don't do this, you know what I mean? And this is a white guy,
Yeah.
multimillionaire. In
Wow.
your mindset, you're like, no, this he ain't had no bad life. Somebody gave him some money, his family had no. Half these
Right.
people that are making it now have bad worse
They had to go through some stuff, some adversity.
worse beginnings than I have, or probably anybody else. I'm not going to be a victim anymore, and I'm going to start education, reading up, and understanding is the key. What did our parents tell you when? What did you hear that saying? You want to hide something from a black person? Put it in a book.
Put it in the book. So true.
We got
So
to
true.
read. We got to understand. We got to stop being so. We got to stop feeling like we're so victimized by certain things in which we call it. Like I have conversations with people, I'm not a big political person, everybody has their views on certain things like that. But one thing I did say was like I would tell people, like I hate when people even try to get into a political thing. Well, you support this person. I don't support none of that. What I do look at is whoever is in office, what is their niche? What do they like? What do they don't like? What's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If this guy is a real estate guy, and that's his background, that's what he's doing. Where might you want to start moving your money or start looking at doing? Because that's where the advantage is going to start looking at how you can,
Yeah.
you can move. You know what I'm saying? You can function without that. You know what I'm saying? And I can understand like have people. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes we get tunnel vision, we get blocked that, oh, well, I don't like something. What you got? But that's not helping you because regardless of the fact that person there is 4 years or more, regardless of what's going
Yeah.
on, how do you
Yeah.
position yourself in your
How do you?
family?
I love what you're saying. How do you position you and your family based on the facts?
Right.
Because we got a bunch of people out there in social media. I love you guys, but I need you to think about this. You got folks scared because you speak on things and folks have a lot of insecurities on things they're
Mm-hmm.
concerned about. Don't focus on the things that you're concerned about. Focus on the things that you have control over.
Right.
You have your sphere of concern versus your sphere of control. Focus on what you can control and do the research, like Renn is saying. What is his position on a said topic? And position you and your family.
Right.
I love it. I love it, brother. Yeah. Mm. But I got so many more questions I want to ask, but I want to be respectful at time because I know you and I got a hard stop shortly. Hard
Yeah,
stop.
yeah.
So we're gonna
we're
go
gonna we're
maybe,
gonna we're gonna grab some more knowledge. Grab
yeah,
some more
man. So
knowledge.
we're gonna go maybe about 5 more minutes and we're
Okay.
gonna shut it down. So
Okay.
we can get our minds right for what we getting ready to do in the DB community.
Yeah.
So here's a question. I got two questions. All right. And then I want you to talk about the DB community for my people on social media.
Oh, okay.
The first question is this. If you could time travel and have a 5 minute conversation with the younger version of yourself, what are three or four pieces of advice you would give yourself?
Uh, let me see. If I could try, I would definitely say learn financial literacy and financial management earlier. Start learning, if I went back years, I'd be like, man, if I could have learned this earlier, you know what I'm saying, I might be in a better position. Number two would probably be keep being you. Just be positive, keep being disciplined, keep being motivated on what you're doing. You're gonna get there. You know what I mean? And then 3 would just be live life. Enjoy
Experiment.
yourself. Live
Yeah.
life. Just don't get bogged down on the bad stuff. Like you said, it's kind of like, one of my favorite things I always tell people is what's called the serenity prayer. Lord, give me the strength to change the things that I can, and wisdom, and I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but you understand what I'm saying. And knowing the
Yeah.
difference of the stuff that I can change and what I can't change. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's about it. I don't
Yeah.
I don't I don't get stressed over too much stuff. I'm pretty even keeled
I love
guy.
it.
You know what I mean? Like I say,
Yeah.
I I don't look as mistakes as just being mistakes. I looked at them in life as lessons. All right, you learned the lesson. You know what I'm saying? How are you gonna go about that lesson that you learned, whether bad or good? You know what I'm saying? Are you gonna learn something from it, or are you gonna keep making the same mistake over and over again, or change your life, change your mindset, get in the room? Those are my 2 things. I always say it. Get in the
Yeah.
room, change your mindset, it'll change your life.
Wow. Wow. There's so much substance to it because you've been saying this again and again, and I hope my audience is not are not missing it, or not gonna miss it. Guys, it's not about your effort level. You can put off massive effort, but wrong mindset, massive effort, no results. It's not about access to opportunities because sometimes opportunities are right in front of you, but if you don't have the right mindset, you're not seeing it.
Right.
The mindset is everything, people. It's everything. It outpaces access. It outpaces grind or effort. You got to be in alignment. You got to have the right mindset. Here's my closing question, brother. Because this is the Level Up podcast, and we're not just about talking about success. We're about executing so you can get success. If someone is listening right now, and they're ready to move, but they don't know where to start, what is the first step that you would recommend that they take today in order to change their life?
Find a mentor and find a group, or anybody, mentor that's either in the space that you're trying to work in space, or somebody that's in that space that you're trying to work in, and then start talking to them. Take them out to lunch. Say, hey, I want to take you out to lunch. You in the space that I'm trying to be in. I want to learn a little bit more about the space. You know, get that mentor and trying to understand, kind of, grow some type of relationship with that, because that goes a long way. And then, find those groups, those trusted groups of people, you know what I mean, and then, work with them, stuff like that. So that would be the first thing. And then typically either that mentor or those groups of people are going to lead you to start educating yourself on certain books, start reading certain books, or audibles, or however you're going to do it, reading those books, learning certain things, and then just like I say, it's only thing I say is, and it just covers everything, get in the room. You got to get in the room with somebody, whether it's a group of people, a mentor. You have to get into the room with somebody who's either above what you're doing and you're trying to get to where they are, or they're in your same space. But you got to talk to somebody that's in that, what we call it. And trust me, if you build that rapport and you talk to those people and you feel like they're trusted people, those people love to educate. They'll give you a story, tell you exactly where they came from. And that's the best thing that you can have, because they're going to help you get over those hurdles, and hopefully you don't run into those same walls, same mistakes that they had, and they're going to they should set you up for, if they're good people, they're going to set you up for the right thing. Now, you want to be careful with all these Facebook people that put on different things on, like, well, I can show you how to buy an apartment building. You might want to do some betting, because a lot of that stuff is just
Do
about
some
getting
betting.
money.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna teach you nothing. They're just gonna take your money and give you a
Take it.
PowerPoint slide to tell you to move on.
Yeah. So true. So true. Perfect segue, man. As we get ready, you and me, to shut this down and get ready for our DB debriefing, could you share with our audience a little bit about the DB community, what you personally have taken from it at this point after being in the community, um, almost what 2 years, 3 years. Share a little bit about what the community has done for you.
Yeah, we're going on 2.5 years. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So the community for me is again, it's one of those things. Viewers, you got the head of the table, D, brilliant guy, love to teach. He'll give you the world. He just gives you everything that you need to know. I mean, you get the education, you get to understand certain things. And the more you go, you start picking up. It's like light bulbs just start going off. And, oh, you know what? I can do this, I can do that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And the biggest thing,
I
like I
just
said, is
changed my
that.
background, Renn. Just changed
Oh,
my
I see.
background. Yeah.
So you're getting all these all from different walks of life. Everybody's coming from different walks of life. You know what I mean? They're just they're doing certain things. And the most impressive thing to me I see in that group is so many young folks, 24, 21, 22, 23. They already building and building. You know what I'm
They're
saying? They are
building.
multi-millionaires and stuff like that. And you like, wow. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Just
Yeah.
it's so intriguing to me. But it's just
Right.
being able to talk to everybody, seeing how everybody's everybody's different walk of life came from, what they're doing and stuff like that, and how you can use that. It just, you know what I mean? To me, it's like being at a table with a whole bunch of mentors that you can just grab a hold to. It's like, oh, you know what? Earl does podcasts. Let me talk to him. I might want to do a podcast. You can kind of give me some advice on
Facts.
what's going on. It's just so many walks of life and
Right.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah. Renn
it's
does
awesome.
Toro. I'm thinking about doing Toro. Let me connect with my brother.
Yep.
So, I mean, you hit it on the head, man. I mean, I was blessed. My adult children. I got a 27-year-old and a 21-year-old. I said, yo, I need y'all to go to Hawaii with me. And they said, okay, Dad. So we on. And we moving. I mean, and because me and my wife, they saw the sacrifices. We
Right.
created some things when they were young enough to kind of see it's not just about working for the sake of working. It's about working for the sake of building something that's gonna outlast you. So to your point, when you see young people in a community that's winning, it just inspires you.
Yeah, it does. It's insane. It just lights me up. Like I'd be like, oh wow, that's awesome. I can't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
you just
sure.
yeah. Like
For
I say,
sure.
yeah, we definitely we got to get that spread a little bit more in our communities. And like I said, we just got to get it out there. And like it's not being taught in school. The biggest thing I wish they would start teaching in schools instead of worrying about this book and that book. Start teaching financial literacy, how money works, what's going on. But they ain't gonna do that because they want us all to be consumers. Because if everybody
Absolutely.
was an entrepreneur, they ain't got nobody to work the job. So
Absolutely.
we
Absolutely.
we just got to change ourselves from consumers to producers, and that's the biggest thing. So
Yeah. Well, that's one of my not-for-profits I'm working on to take this concept that I have to teach financial literacy and to be
okay.
able, and I'm going to ask this of you in advance. Um, when we come back from Hawaii, I would love for you to speak to my monthly group of young people, as we talk about financial literacy, as we talk about the opportunity of moving from being a consumer group to a producer group.
Right. Yep.
All right. So,
Anytime, brother. Anytime,
all
man.
right, man. Look,
I don't mind. Anytime.
another one is in the books, man.
Yeah.
Another one.
Hey,
Thank you
I don't.
for joining me on this Level Up podcast, brother. Get yourself refreshed. We getting ready to jump into some information for
Yeah, I
you
know.
guys out there on social media. We're gonna say bye-bye, but as I always mention, it's one thing to be blessed, but it's another thing to be a blessing. Be a blessing to others. Love you,
Amen.
brother. Salute.
Same here. Y'all take it
All
easy.
right.
Have a blessed day.
Yes, sir.